This car has a 102 kilowatt hour battery, which means that you're looking at some pretty good range inside of the ride. When you look at the rear-wheel drive version in the US, that's 313 miles maximum. The all-wheel drive regular version is 304 miles or 489 kilometers. And then when you get into the Type S, that's going to give you 278 miles or 448 kilometers. So you do get pretty good range inside of the ride. Charging for the ZDX is done along the driver's side. It's got support for level 1, level 2, and for level 3 DC supercharging with varying charge rates. You're also going to find a 20-foot charge cable right from the factory. And the charge brick here, so we're IP67 weather rated, which means that this can get wet. So charging up in snowy conditions when it's raining, etc., not a problem. And it's got support for both level 1 and for level 2 charging. So just choose whatever tip you want to, insert, and you're good to go. The charge times are going to depend on if you're level 1, level 2, or level 3 DC supercharging. I don't have a level 2 charge station at home, so strictly level 1. With a regular wall plug, you're looking at going from 0 to 100 in like 100 plus hours. So you're multiple days in order to fully charge up. But if you're only traveling 50 kilometers a day or 30 miles a day, you'd be more than okay with just a regular wall plug. But if you drive 50 or 100 miles a day, like 100 kilometers-ish a day, you're absolutely going to want to look at a level 2 home charging station. And then level 3 is there if you're charging up on the road. This one's all-wheel drive, so the handling that you get here, oh, it's good. Going with an all-wheel drive version means that your range is negatively impacted. It's not by a lot. So, I mean, if you're in the States, if you want the best possible range, go for the rear wheel drive version. But if you want something that's good year round, all wheel drive is fantastic. And the extra power that you get, I think, is more than worth it. You're going to find either 20 or 22 inch wheels inside of the ZDX, just depending on which trim level you're in. The Type S, you're looking at 22 inch wheels. And there are Brembo 6-piston brakes along with yellow painted calipers, which look pretty sharp. You're going to find LED headlamps inside of this ride, regardless of which trim level that you're looking at. And walking up to the car at nighttime, I love the little LED light bars. They really pop. Technology-wise, regardless of the trim, you're always going to find the forward park sensing system. And then when you get into the Type S, that's when you're also going to find a front-facing camera, so a full 360 view. There's a suite of incredible driving assistance technology, including the option for a head-up display. There's regular cruise, adaptive cruise, and then full hands-free driving available inside of this ride. And the ZDX is the only Acura vehicle that's going to have that full hands-free driving technology. It's amazing. This one is the Type S, which means you're looking at 499 horsepower and 544 pound-feet of torque. It is absolutely ridiculous the amount of power this car has. Probably overkill for most, but let's get back up to highway speed here. We'll go in 3, 2, and go. Oh, that's fun. I love that. Yeah, so if power is your thing, like this is an absolute blast. So here's the thing. The Type S is obviously going to be the most expensive version of this vehicle. What I'd recommend is probably go for a step down. If you want the most amount of power, the Type S is absolutely the way to go. But even without the Type S, the horsepower and torque that you get are still fairly good. It's 490 horsepower versus 499, but you get way more torque in comparison when you look at the Type S version of the ride. You're not going to find any front space under the hood here whatsoever. You are going to find this gigantic Acura cover though, which, I mean, it covers off all of the components that most people wouldn't like to look at anyways. Then you can easily top up your wiper fluid along the left-hand side. If you're the type of person where you tend not to maintain your cars as well as you probably should, and electric could be for you, because really, top up your wiper fluid, change your brakes, and then you're gonna have to replace your tires a little bit more frequently than an internal combustion car, especially depending on your driving habits. Because to get into a car that's this powerful, you might have to replace that rubber a little bit more, especially if you gun it when the light turns green. Side view mirrors inside of the ride are typically power folding, but you can have them permanently locked out in this position. You've got turn signals built in, an optional side mounted camera. There's a blind spot system, so if somebody enters the blind spot, that'll highlight to let you know. And they're also auto dimming, so later on at night, if there's a donkey flashing their high beams, it's gonna dim out for you. There is some intelligent access here, so you're gonna push there to lock the door, then push again in order to unlock. But before we hop inside there, you've got this neat little highlight along the door with driver seat memory, and then the buttons here are the same across the board. So you've got controls for your side views and windows with some storage. You can open up the trunk from the inside here. You've also got speakers here. Now, there's a single speaker choice available inside of the ride, and that's this 18 speaker Bang & Olufsen audio system. You've got basic pedals there, rubberized mats. I highly recommend picking up these mats from the factory aftermarket, etc. It's a nice little scuff plate there. Multi-way adjustable seats. And then a few different types of seating material, or seating types I should say, inside of the ride, but space-wise here. So hold on, with the seat, as far down as it's gonna go. Up overhead, I've got 3.5 roughly inches of headspace. So I'm 6 feet tall, so 6'3", teetering on 6'4". You should be okay inside of this ride. Seats are nice and comfortable, which is good. Perforated. Leatherette looks pretty nice. Looking at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Acura ZDX. The walkthrough here is going to cover off everything that you need to know. First thing I'm going to point out is that the steering wheel inside of the ride is going to be power telescoping. So down by the left part of the column there, in, out, up, and down to find that perfect position for you. Once you have that set up, I'd also recommend getting your driver's seat set up. So you've got a few toggles there, move it forwards, backwards, up and down, adjust your backrest. And then there's also this one here, so you can actually tap that in order to get to some additional options inside of the infotainment system. So you can adjust out the bolster, your cushion length, etc. So you could have the side hug you a little bit more. You can adjust out your lumbar support, or you can also adjust out your cushion length. So that the cushion length is the lower cushion. So lower part of the cushion there, you can have that extend in or out if you'd like to. Once you've got your seat set up your side view mirrors the way that you'd like to, your steering wheel set up there, you then tap set, 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. So if somebody's played around with your settings, hop in, you can tap 1 or 2 to reset it back to your position there. Pretty useful. Down by your left knee, you've got a few other buttons that are available. So you've got your parking brake. You can tap in order to turn it on. You hit the brake pedal, so push and hold, and then tap again in order to turn it off. You've got your mode selector there too, and that's going to be for your different drive modes. So sport mode gives you the best performance, individual lets you customize, normal is your day-to-day driving, and snow is going to play with traction stability control. But with the individual mode, you can tap this in order to customize it. So you can adjust out your steering. Do you want it to be a little bit more of like loosey-goosey with normal, or sport stiffens things up? Same thing with the suspension, your brake, motor sound there too, so that faux sound that plays through, you can adjust it out that way. You can toggle a lane keeping system on. The lane keeping, as long as it recognizes the lane markings, you'll see that whatever lane that you're in. So let's say if you're veering over to the left side, the outer part will go yellow, and then it's going to nudge you back into your lane. Auto hold, with that one enabled, if you come down to a complete stop, take your foot off the brake, the vehicle's not going to move. You might have the option of adjusting the ride height, and as you do that, you can see how high or low the vehicle sits. It's actually pretty neat. And then you can also increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. There are so many different buttons and Stalks, starting off with the buttons along the left-hand side here. Inside of the ZDX, there are 3 different types of cruise control you're going to find, which is a deviation from the typical 2 you'll find in most other Acura vehicles. So you've got either normal, adaptive, or hands-free driving available. So in order to toggle the system on, you push this button here, and we know that it's on because it gives you a little message in the cluster screen. So once you've got it turned on, you then set your speed by pushing down. You can increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time, push and hold up, or push and hold down in order to increase, decrease at larger increments. You can hit the brake to cancel your speed, you can hit the cancel button to cancel your speed, and then you push up to resume your previously set speed. But like I said, 3 different types of cruise. So if you take the cancel button, if you push and hold it, that's going to turn you into either regular cruise, so that's your old school cruise. You set it at 80. If the car in front of you slows down, yours will not brake. But if you take that same button, you push and hold it again, that's where you get into adaptive cruise control with your gap adjustment here. So there are 3 unique levels. That's how close or far are you from the leading vehicle. So you set your speed at 80. The car in front of you slows down, yours will automatically brake. They change lanes, you change lanes, it's going to pick you back up to your previously set speed. And then there's also hands-free driving. When it's available, you have to have the adaptive cruise system on first, and then you'll notice a little white steering wheel pop up somewhere inside of the cluster screen. When it does, tap this, and that's going to turn the hands-free system on. This upper part of the steering wheel will go green, and at that point, it's full hands-free driving. You don't even have to have your feet on the gas and the brake. It controls everything. It'll speed you up, slow you down. It's even got the option for lane change assist. So if we go into the infotainment system here, settings, vehicle, you've got your hands-free change. So off, turn signal activated, or automatic. So the way that this works with off, it's old school. So you hit the turn stalk to go left or right, and you just manually have to change lanes yourself. With turn signal activated, you hit the turn stalk to go left or right, the car's going to check to see if there's anybody in that lane and automatically change lanes for you. You don't even need to have your hands on the steering wheel. And then automatic takes it up to the next level. So let's say if you've got it set at 80, the car in front of you is going too slow. The car will automatically put on the turn stalk for you. It'll change lanes for you. It'll pass that car, and then it's going to put the turn signal back on to get back into the lane that you were just in. It is a brilliant system. But if you want a live demonstration of actually using that cruise control system, you'll find it down in the description of this video. Your stick along the left-hand side is pretty simple, obviously for your blinkers there. There's a button on the tip of the stick. So if you just tap it, that's going to be just a single wipe. If you push and hold it, that's going to get the wiper fluid going. You can adjust out your intermittent level there, so how fast or slow is that rain hitting the windshield. And then this one is for your rear wiper. So whether or not that one's coming on, intermittent level, etc. You've also got a rear camera washer for the upper camera if you wanted to do that. And then you could also pull it towards you to get the high beams going. So I'm in the auto mode right now. So if I pull towards me, I can flash out my high beams, but I can't permanently lock them out. So inside of the infotainment system, if you go to either your controls or your lights along the top, that gives you to this option. But let's go to controls because you've got more additional options. So auto high beam, I always recommend keeping that one turned on in the auto headlamp mode. So what that means is that if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, turns them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off before turning them right back on again. If you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out, go into the headlamp mode along the bottom. You're then just going to push away to turn them on, pull towards you in order to turn them off. But like I said, auto mode is the way to be the majority of the time. And at nighttime, if you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out in the auto mode, just push away and that'll lock them on for you. There's also this little paddle. So the paddle here is for regenerative braking. So if you push and hold it, you're essentially forcing regenerative braking, very similar to just tapping the brake pedal, but eventually it's going to put you into the auto hold setting. Now, these buttons here, so many different things. You've got a voice command prompt, so you can do things like change songs, radio stations, you can navigate using your voice, you can even adjust the climate using your voice here too. Watch this. Change the fan speed to 3.
Sure, changing the fan speed to 3.
So you can adjust your fan speed using your voice, you can adjust the climate, and so many other things. If you had your phone hooked up, so iPhone, Android devices, push and hold that button in order to activate either your Siri or your Google Assistant. You can answer or hang up on a phone call. You've got your heated steering wheel available there. And then you've got a few other buttons here. So this one lets you change up the look of the screen with a few unique views. This is going to be for different audio. And then you can move up or down here too in order to move between your different presets, which I'll show you that one as we dive a little bit deeper into the screen. In behind the steering wheel along the left side, you can go up or down in order to be able to change between your different presets. In behind the steering wheel on the right-hand side, you can go up or down to be able to adjust out your audio volume that way. Then you've also got your gear shifter. So foot on the brake, you're going to pull towards you to go into neutral, and then push up to go into reverse, in and down to go into drive. Then there's a button on the tip of the stick in order to put yourself back into park. So if you're going through a car wash that needs you to be in neutral, pull in towards you in order to get into neutral. Pretty simple though. The cluster screen can actually be modified a tiny little bit. So if you take this button along the bottom right side of the steering wheel pad, you can push it in order to get to either a full map and cluster view, push again to get to a driver assistance view, and then your basic like older school view instead. I'm typically a bigger fan of this view. You can see your current direction that you're facing along with your current time. So this part of the screen can actually be customized. So inside of the infotainment system, if you go to your vehicle status, you have a bunch of different options that are available here. So tire pressure, energy information, etc. If you want your tire pressure inside of the cluster screen, you can do that. If you want to have your trip information, so trip counters, you can reset your trip counters, or you can add that in to the driver display along the left-hand side there. So that is kind of customizable. So you can reset your trip counter there, add or remove things to the display if you'd like to. If you want to get the date and time, just go to this screen, add something in, and then remove it in order to get that. But you can add any of this information into that part of the cluster screen there if you want. You can see your current battery level, whether or not you've got the parking brake engaged, yay, nay, vehicle's ready to drive. And then you've also got your gauges here. So you've got your battery gauge this way, which shows your mileage till empty. And then this one, which is going to show your battery level done differently. Whether or not you've got the lane keeping system enabled, your current odometer is there, your current energy usage, and then you've got these two different gauges, which I'll explain in a second. You can see what gear you're currently in, along with your current temperature along the very top there. And then you can use the buttons here to do a few things too. So you can tap this in order to get to your audio sources. So do you want to go to AM, FM, SiriusXM? And then you're just pushing in the middle. So you're using that switch, and then once you choose whatever station you like, push in the middle there. So if you tap this button, that's going to let you go to your different audio sources. If you then don't tap the button, so if you just go up and down, that's going to let you go between all of your favorites. And then these gauges here, I want you to think of the upper blue gauge as if it was your traditional tachometer. So it's a power gauge. So as you put your foot down, this gauge will go up. So you're essentially like an RPM counter there. So how much power are you actively using? When you go to brake, hard brake, you push down this way. So your green bar is going to drop down. So that's essentially regenerative braking. When you use the paddle along the left-hand side there, so that's going to be a forced regenerative braking too. So you can either hit the brake pedal or push and hold this paddle. And when you do it, your regen braking is going to start going down, so your charge gauge there will go down, and then eventually it'll put you into the auto hold setting. So auto hold is the one where if you come down to a complete stop, take your foot off the brake, the vehicle is not going to move. But you've got your different views. The map and cluster view I think does look pretty good, especially when you've got a route going. I like that you can use the enhanced integration through Apple CarPlay though in order to show your phone maps right through that cluster. But let's do this. Navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.3 kilometers away. Want to navigate there?
Yes. All right, and we are starting the route out, and once we've got that route going, I mean, that just looks nice. So you've got your full map and cluster view there. When you're on any of the other screens, you can at least see your turn-by-turn directions right inside of the screen too. But with your head-up display along the top there, you can see your current road speed, along with your current vehicle speed. If you have an active route going, it's your turn-by-turn directions, and then your current time along the bottom there. Inside of the infotainment system, if you go to your controls, you then got a bunch of options, but you can go adjusting out your head-up display. So you can adjust the brightness, you can move it up or down. So you do want to adjust the height up or down, depending on where you sit on the seat. And it's the same thing with the rotation. So do you want to move it left or right? Or you can just turn the whole head-up display off if you want to. This is the only infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the Acura ZDX. It's Google-based, which means that you've got the PlayStore, so you can download a bunch of different apps. But let's dive in and I'll show you what you need to know. You've got your volume rocker here. You could also push in the middle if you wanted to be able to mute out audio. And then along the outer part of the screen here, you've got a few different controls. So the bottom two icons there are locked into place. But the top four, you've got the flexibility to push and hold, and you could adjust it out, or you can swipe if you wanted to remove, and then you can just easily add these back in. So if you wanted your phone or any of these other icons there, you can adjust these four, but these two are locked into place. You've got your little like split screen here, which you can kind of customize it a little bit. There's not much from a customization perspective, and then this is going to bring you back to your home page. If there are any notifications available, that would show up there. You've got a button push in order to get to your different lights, which we'll touch on a little bit later. You've also got your one pedal driving with different levels that are available, your connection level along with your current outside temperature, and then your time along the top right hand side there. And then you've got all of your different icons here, and there's so many different things. There's a bunch of charging information available here too. So you've got your next charge. So when you're plugged in, do you want to get fully charged up? Ideally, you're limiting yourself to 80 or 85%. If you're going to be going on a distance trip, go to 100%, but just to keep the battery in the best possible condition, 80 to 85% is kind of the sweet spot. Charge now, or you can have it charged later. So when do you want the vehicle to start charging? And when it starts charging, what time is it going to start charging at? What percentage do you want it to charge to? And do you want it to precondition on top of that? So benefit here is that you're essentially going to have the cabin preconditioned for you. So rather than wasting electricity, having the vehicle try to either heat up or cool down the cabin, when you're plugged in, you hop into the car and it's going to be nice and cool, nice and warm for you based off of that preconditioning charge. It's actually pretty useful. Back from there, you can tap your little settings icon to get to a few other options. So you can set a home charge location, gives you a few options once you do that. And you've got the option of removing, you can update, or you can select what type of charge cord you're using. Level 1, max 12, etc. So the benefit here is that whether you're level 1, level 2, etc., you can set different options here for your amperage. So whether or not you're plugged into level 1 or 2, if it's not fully charging up, you can adjust out your charge limit, which should, in theory, get the charge going if you're running into charge issues. If you're going for fast charging, you can prep yourself out. You can set your preconditioning temperature there too, so hot, cold, etc. when you're plugged in. And then you can also set a preferred charge time. Back home, next charge. So next time I'm plugged in, charging later. So I'm going to say that I'm going to charge at midnight, but I want to set it to charge now. And then it's going to let us know when it's going to be fully charged up. You've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay inside of the ride too. So let's go ahead and actually start off on the Apple side of things. All we're going to do, tap on CarPlay, pair phone or phone list. So let's go ahead and pair phone right now. Because actually if we go back, CarPlay, if you've already connected, then you'd have your phone list here. So we just add a phone and we're just waiting for that to pop up. It has, there we go, pin numbers match up. So let's go ahead and pair. Do you want all the contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm saying no to that one. Obviously, if it was your car, you could say yes. And you can stop here. So you're connected over Bluetooth as this pairs up. So you can make phone calls and you'd also be able to stream audio. But you've also got wireless Apple CarPlay inside of the ride. It is backwards compatible, so if you'd prefer to use USB, you can do that. So USB-C down there, but it's wireless. So let's just go ahead, use wireless there. There we go. And do you want to allow it to check for additional apps? There aren't any apps that are exciting as of right now. And let's hit OK. Perfect. And we're now connected right now for CarPlay. So we can tap here in order to get to our CarPlay screen. Back home, you've got your home screen for Apple CarPlay. So it's not going to go complete full screen. So you'll always have the side and the top bar there. But you can see your current time, connection, and battery levels. These are the apps that were last opened. So your last open map, audio application, miscellaneous app. And then you've got your either icon view or your home screen there, which you can swipe across. This home screen is kind of customizable. So you're always going to have the map that was last opened. Your search and audio box will always be there. And if you have a calendar notification coming up today that hasn't passed yet, that would show up. If you don't have a calendar notification, search and audio would be stretched across the top there. So just two boxes. But you've got so many things. Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze are all fantastic apps. But the downside, no pinch to zoom capabilities. I'm a bigger fan of using Waze because along the route, if people notice that there are speed traps, hazards, things like that, people are pretty good at marking stuff like that off. And you can mark things off along the map yourself too. So pretty simple. You've got YouTube Music available with no YouTube video playback. So it's strictly music. VLC's there. Live One is a radio app. Hoopla is a library app. You've got different charging apps, podcasts that are available there too. And along the steering wheel here, you've got a voice command prompt. So if you just do a light tap, that's going to bring up the assistant for the vehicle. But if you take that same button and if you push and hold it, that is going to bring up your Siri assistant. So short button push is the one for the vehicle. Long button push is the assistant for your phone. And then you've got so many customization options here too. So you can go to your settings, put yourself into driving focus, but you can also adjust out your wallpaper. So if there's another look that works better for you, you're a bigger fan of different wallpaper options, you can change that wallpaper out. You've got different Siri options here too, but you can also adjust out the layout of the icons here. All you're gonna do, pull up your phone, go to your settings, general, and then CarPlay, find your vehicle. You can forget there's enhanced integration, but we want to customize. So you've got the flexibility of customizing this a bit. So maybe you want your podcast along the very top there. Maybe you're a bigger fan of using a different map application. So you can easily adjust these out. Anything with a minus next to it, you can remove it from the screen. So you can just easily remove, you can adjust out, add things back in. But if you're not a fan of what you've done, so the layout that you've created, along the top right side of the phone, you can reset, in order to bring yourself back to the factory icon layout there instead. You may have noticed we've got the enhanced integration here. So where that one comes into play. So if we just tap here, let's go ahead and search for a random location. We've got an active route going, but where enhanced integration comes into play, if you were to take this button along the bottom right side of the steering wheel and move into your maps. So this would typically be Google Maps showing, but now it's showing the Waze map right through the cluster screen. Well, I love that you've got that enhanced integration capability. If you're back on the home screen, you can easily jump back into CarPlay that way. Back home, if you go into your settings, I could have gone phone there, connections, and then phones, you've got the phone that's been connected there. So you can easily disconnect from CarPlay if you want to, and that's setting us back up over Bluetooth. So CarPlay goes over Wi-Fi, Bluetooth is Bluetooth for phone calls and for media, but CarPlay gives you all of the options. Then you can look at different options to forget, disconnect, etc. So pretty simple, but that's how you set up Apple devices inside of this ride. Setting up Android devices inside of this ride is pretty simple. If you go to your settings here, connections, and then phones, you've got this screen. So we're just going to tap plus. Let's go ahead and switch phones because we're changing the phones out. On the device here, we've got, just waiting for that to show up. There we go, maybe. There we go, perfect. Pin numbers match up, so let's go ahead and pair. And you can stop here. So you're connecting over Bluetooth, so you'd be able to either stream audio or make phone calls, but you've also got wireless Android Auto. But before we get there, it's asking, do I want to allow access to messages and contacts? This is not my car, so I'm saying no to that one. Enable there. So what we're doing is we're enabling Android Auto. Take a second here. Welcome to Android Auto. Just continue. And a few seconds in, we are fully connected there. Perfect. So we're set up. You've got Google Maps here. And then along the bottom, you've got your icon view. Back to your little home screen there, along with a few other apps that are available there too. You can see your current connection level along the very bottom, along with your battery level. And then you've got Google Maps here. So you can hit this in order to go fuller screen, full pinch to zoom capabilities on the Google Maps side of things, which is great. You can tap here to get back to the little split screen or full screen again. And then on this screen, we've got Waze that's installed. But if you've got Waze installed on your Android device and it's not showing up, check down in the description of this video for a walkthrough on how you'd be able to add Waze onto your phone. Then you can also customize the layout here. On your device, just search for Android Auto, go to your Android Auto settings, and then that's going to pull you up to this option. We want to go Customize Launcher, and then you've got all of your applications there. You can do a drag and drop if you wanted to be able to adjust things out. Anything with a check mark next to it, you can remove it from the screen or you can add things back in. Now, in order for the icon layout change here to come into effect, you're just going to hop back to your home screen, go to your settings, connections, phone. You're going to disconnect from Android Auto, reconnect to Android Auto, and look at that. Hop back, and you can see there, the changes that we made have now come into effect. So simple enough, and then hopping back home into settings, connections, and phones. You've got both phones that have been connected. So you can either be hooked up to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both. And then you've got one phone or the other, so you can easily switch out. You can tap options to show first to connect. So if you've got multiple phones connected, who's it going to try to connect to first? Your connection type, Android Auto, or your Bluetooth media. You can forget the phone there too. So just forget. That's going to remove the phone, and same idea. We'll go forget on the iPhone and set to go. And that's how you set up Apple devices and Android devices inside of this ride. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto are now grayed out just because we don't have either phone connected. You can tap here in order to get to your camera view, which gives you a few other options. So you can tap this in order to get to either a front or a back view. Side, and then you've also got your top views, so front and back, your side camera views, so front forwards, front backwards, etc. And then back to your 360 view there. So you've got that camera. The camera quality is actually pretty good, especially later on at night. There's ambient light available inside the ride, and you can adjust out the upper or lower. So upper along the trim, lower along the footwells, and then you can also have it linked to your drive mode. So as you go to adjust your drive mode, it's going to change up the color scheme inside the car. You've got different climate options that are available here too. And one of the nice things, so your climate options are built into the screen, but you've got physical buttons along the very bottom of the screen there too. So you can easily adjust out this way if you want to. So for fan speed, adjust out this way, all of your different options there, heated, ventilated seats. And you can see as we adjust it down the lower part, it adjusts everything right through the infotainment system there too. There are a series of different audio options that are available here. So you've got related, so we're on SiriusXM right now, but if we go, AM, FM, SiriusXM, Bluetooth, all of these options, so USB stick with MP3s or other audio files, etc. Whether we're on AM, FM, it's going to work the same way. You can tune to a station this way if you want to. You can tune to a station using your voice. 102.1 FM.
All right, here's 102.1 FM.
So easily adjusting out audio that way. If you wanted to save in a preset, so if you want to, you can just push and hold in order to be able to overwrite there. And then you've got this screen, but this has the option of you being able to just tap here if you wanted to save in presets. So the icon here, you can just kind of make out the lower part is a little bit lighter, and that just means that the preset's been saved in. So you can adjust out. You've got a bunch of different preset pages. You can tap here in order to get to some sound settings, volume. You can manage your favorites there too. So it's a mix of AM, FM, Sirius XM. You can delete, or you can also reorganize. So maybe you wanted to have this one along the top. Maybe you wanted to have this one a bit further up. So you can easily do a drag and drop or hit the trash icon to remove your favorites. There's radio text and then your categories there too. So the radio text is that information that shows up. When you're in SiriusXM, you'd have a few additional settings there. So you can pause live radio. You can look here to see all of your different category views. So music, sports, talk, etc. You can hit this in order to do a tune to start. You've got your location service, nothing exciting there. And then your additional settings as well. So actually if we hit that, and let's go to our sound settings. What I'd recommend here, start playing one of your favorite songs, and while that's playing, adjust this out until it sounds perfect for you. What I generally find, something like this, where it's like bass down, or bass up, I should say, a tiny little bit, treble up a teeny bit, tends to give pretty good audio in my opinion, but play one of your favorite songs and adjust that out. And then you can also adjust out your balance or fade this way. You can do a fine tune up and down that way, bring it back to center again. But that's using audio inside of the ride. It's pretty simple. Google Maps is available here too. So let's review privacy. Let's just hit OK, go to map. Perfect. And we've got the option of searching for addresses this way. You can search using your voice. Navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.4 kilometers away. Navigate to that one.
So I went to one that was a bit further away. So let's go to one a bit further away. So the reason why I'm doing that is because you've got this option now. So you can select different ways to get to that destination. You can adjust different things on the route. So do you want to avoid highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that? And then back, and you can start, or you could add in an additional stop. So maybe you also wanted to charge up the vehicle. You'd have that flexibility. So if we then search for charging stations, you can see what different stations are available. So let's just select a random one there. And then you can see there, coffee, and then going to charge up. If you wanted to charge up first, you could adjust out. So just do a drag and drop. So if you have multiple destinations you need to go to, you can keep on adding destinations in, tap done, and then start. And then that gets the route going. And then you could exit out. When you exit, you can either remove the next stop, or you could fully exit navigation. You can tap this in order to show traffic, satellite view. Do you prefer that view instead? You can adjust out global route options. So do you want to avoid highways, toll roads, or ferries, etc.? You can download offline maps. So if you're going somewhere where you know you won't have an active connection, maps would still work at that point. You can mute out different alerts. So do you want to have no alerts whatsoever? Do you want to just get alerts so when you're coming to an upcoming turn, it's going to chime at you? Or you could have a chime and then a voice. You can adjust out to different perspective views this way, actually. You can also shrink this. So if we tap that, it's going to shrink. You've got full pinch to zoom capabilities here. And then you could also sign into your Google account. So if you've been using Google Maps on your phone and you're signed in, it essentially would pull all of the information from your phone that you've searched for. So any addresses that you've searched for on Google Maps. But that's using navigation. It's pretty simple. There are a boatload of different controls available. So you could lock out the rear doors. Dome lighting, so you can turn on the overhead lights if you'd like to. You could lock out the windows. There's a hot button push to get to your cameras again. You've got traction control. So the only time you really want to do that, slippery, snowy conditions where you're not getting good traction, you could toggle it off. There's auto park assist, so the vehicle can help out with both parallel and perpendicular parking. And then there's park assist, so the beeping that you get as you get closer to obstacles, so front and rear sensors. More controls gives you a bunch of other options. So you've got your door locks, drive and park, same idea, blind spot assist. You've got your auto park assist, again, helping out with parallel perpendicular parking. And then universal remotes. So if you've got a garage door opener at home, you'd be able to program that in too. So you've got your controls there that I've added in, your controls there. So, and then you've got some other basic ones along the top. And there are a boatload of settings, which we'll touch on last. Your phone, if one was connected, it's showing this because there's a phone right now on the wireless charge pad. So if we were to take that off, it's going to remove that icon. So you can see that little green icon disappear, put it back on the wireless charge pad, and it's charging back up again. Park Assist is there too. You've got your Google Assistant. Be able to change songs, radio stations, adjust climate, things like that using your voice. So you can use that. You could tap the voice command prompt along the steering wheel. There's a Wi-Fi hotspot that's available here. You do need to have an active plan in order for that to work. You've got your Acura OnStar link. There's the PlayStore available here too. And when you sign in, you'd be able to download a bunch of different apps directly to the vehicle. So in order to be able to do it, so sign in, all you're going to do, once a QR code pops up, scan it on your phone, and then just sign into your Google account. There we go, now signed in. And from here, since we're signed in, you'd then be able to start downloading apps to the vehicle. And the benefit again is because we're also signed in. Now any maps that any addresses I've searched for on Google Maps on my phone would now pull up here. But back to the Play Store, we've got Waze that you can download directly to the vehicle. So rather than running it off of your phone, you'd be able to download it and play it directly through the vehicle this way. And then you've got so many different apps. So if you wanted to download fuel, charging options, things like that directly to the vehicle, you could. Actually wonder, is that available here? No, okay. So there aren't any games that are available, unfortunately, but you've got a boatload of different apps that you can download directly to the vehicle. And we'll see that other app downloading as we go. News is available. There's Amazon Music and Spotify. And then we'll have that other app that we've downloaded in a second. And that means all of the available settings are up next. Starting off with connections, you've got all of your phones that are available. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you can toggle off so they just wouldn't work. There's Wi-Fi networks, and then you could also get yourself into that Wi-Fi hotspot again. You've got a bunch of vehicle options. So audio settings, which we've already seen, so adjusting out your sound. There's adaptive volume, so as you go faster or slower, it's going to adjust your volume out. And then you can also manage your radio favorites from that page too. Teen Driver lets you give limitations to your key fob. Rear seat reminder, if you've opened up the second row doors, turn the vehicle off. It'll tell you to check the back seats inside of the cluster screen. Buckle to drive. When you first start the vehicle up and you go to drive away, if you haven't buckled up initially, it won't let you drive. Eventually it will, but I'm just not a fan of that whatsoever. You've got climate and air quality available here, so adjust your fan speed. Do you want your heated, cooled seats to come on startup, depending on the outside temperature? For your rear climate, same idea. Do you want it to be the same as the front or base off of what it used to be? Defog, defrost, keep those ones on. Collision detection systems, so you could change out the alerts that you get. Do you want the vehicle to brake for you if there's a potential collision? Do you want to get an alert? If it recognizes a pedestrian, do you want it to brake for you, which I highly recommend? But you can turn off all of these settings if you want to. The downside of turning off some of these settings is that you're going to get messages inside of the cluster screen telling you that there's something wrong. So you can see there your little icon, and that's just because you don't have the auto emergency braking turned on. So when you turn it on, there you go. It's going to remove that icon. So just keep these safety settings on. They're there for a reason. Lane change alert, nothing exciting there. Park assist with braking. So as you go to back up, if there's an obstacle behind you that you don't see, it can actively brake for you. Cross traffic, so as you're backing up, if somebody's coming perpendicular, so from the left or the right side, it can alert you, it can brake, or it can do nothing. Do you want to get a pedestrian alert? When you're actually in reverse, so if there's a pedestrian there, it would let you know. Let's see, comfort and convenience. There's easy exit vehicle height. So there is an available air suspension system in this ride, and as you go to hop out of the vehicle, it can actually lower it in order for you to get in and out a little bit easier. Your different volumes, you can adjust out whether or not you get the volume and at what level. Your liftgate can open up to 3 different levels. So maximum is as high as it'll go. You can have it off, so it's a manual liftgate, and then there's custom. There's a button along the liftgate door. You're just going to push and hold that one, so you adjust it to whatever height you'd like to, and then it's not going to open up past that point. There's hands-free access, so it can open and close using a swipe on your foot. Let's see, reverse mirror tilt. So if you want to, when you put yourself into reverse, do you want your driver passenger mirrors to tilt down? I'm not a fan. When you go to lock the vehicle, do you want the side view mirrors to fold in? Do you want your rain sensing wipers going and then auto wiper in reverse? So if you've got your windshield wipers going, you put yourself into reverse, it's going to automatically turn on the rear wiper for you. There's some cool lighting options. So ambient light, again, seeing these things a few different spots, and then approach and departure lighting. So as you go to walk up to the vehicle later on at night, you can get a nice animated look for the lights. I'm personally a bigger fan. It looks pretty sharp. With power door locks, when you go to unlock the door, so hitting one of the buttons along one of the doors there, do all doors become unlocked? Just the driver's door. And then delayed door lock as you go to drive away. Remote lock and unlock. When you go to unlock, you get feedback. But when you lock the doors, do you actually want to know that you've locked? I go lights and horn, but I'd at least say either lights and horn or at least a horn, so you get some sort of a notification that you've actually locked the doors. See, when you go to remote unlock using the fob, do all doors become unlocked, or is it just the driver's door? When you go to remote start the vehicle, do the ventilated or heated seats come on automatically? And then there's a remote window operation. And then, let's see, passive door lock, unlock, etc. But let's hop outside. I'll show you how a few of these things work. In order to remote start on the fob, what you do is push the lock button once and then that circle button twice. So just lock, 1, 2. You'll see there, lights pop on. So we are remote started. In order to cancel remote start, push and hold that circle button again. There we go. Now, you can use the key fob for a few different things. So you can double push here in order to be able to open up the liftgate door. You could also push the button just beside the backup camera there, or swipe in order to be able to pop it open instead. Now, from here, you could shut the door this way. You can also adjust out the height. So if you wanted it at a different height, move to whatever height you'd like, and then just push and hold the button here for a few seconds. That gives you a chime, so now it's not going to open up past that point. You can push there to close, use the fob to close, etc. Then, you can also use the key fob to roll the windows down. In order to do it, push the unlock button twice, and then you're just going to hold on the second press. You're going to go 1, 2, and hold. Release the fob now, and it's going to roll all the windows down. Just the windows, doesn't open up the sunroof. But still, it's nice that happens. And then to roll them back up, push the lock button twice and hold on the second press. So you're going to go 1, 2, and hold. Back up they go. So that's pretty neat. I like that it's window up and down inside of this ride. You've got your easy entry exit ride height. You've got suspension options, so service mode, alignment, and then transport mode too. Notifications, if they were available for the different apps that you've got downloaded. You can adjust out the date and time, so do you prefer that military time instead, so 12 versus 24-hour mode. And then these are grayed out because you're in the auto mode. The only time I'd recommend getting out of auto time zone is if you live somewhere where you straddle a time zone and it constantly flips you from one time zone to the other. So you just deselect that and then select whatever time zone. And it's the same thing for the date and time. You can adjust out your display, so you've got a few different modes. So you've got either a light or a dark mode. Auto means it determines if it's in light or dark, just depending on how bright it is outside. Cluster screen, do you want to show your speed sign inside of the cluster? So if that was available, you'd have that information there, and it would be different on different views. So it's showing up in a slightly different spot. And then your turn-by-turn graphics would be your turn-by-turn directions inside of the screen. Then you can toggle the display off, button push to bring it back to life again. Different sounds that are available. So max startup, if you have the audio cranked, you turn the vehicle off and back on. What level do you want the audio to be at? Do you want to get startup sounds? Yay, nay. Same thing when you go to shut the vehicle down. And then touchscreen feedback. So the beeping that we're getting there, you can toggle that off if you want. Different profile information there. So now that I've signed in my Gmail account, we've got that information. You can delete the profile there too if you'd like to, or rename as necessary. privacy information's available there. There's an ads manager. So if you're using Google Maps built in, you might occasionally see an ad specifically for different places that you should be stopping. There are some accessibility options for captions. Your assistant in voice. Your assistant, you've got the option of saying, hey Google, in order to be able to pull up your voice command prompt, or hit the voice command prompt along the steering wheel, etc. Do you want to get your text messages played, some message summaries and things like that as they come in? There's some security information. So profile lock, you can enter a pattern, PIN, or a password. I highly recommend this, even if you're the only person driving. So you set up either a pattern, PIN, or a password so people can't just look through the addresses that you've saved or other things that you've got set up. System information is there, so you can adjust out to either English, French, or Spanish. You can adjust out to different types of keyboards. And the measurement units is the important one there. So either US or metric. So as we move through, you can see everything adjust out inside of the cluster screen, but even the climate down low. It's just one of the benefits of it being a fully digital cluster. You've got some reset options that are available. So you can do a full vehicle reset, and erase the infotainment data, etc., restart in safe mode. There is a way to do a soft screen reboot. I'll show you in just a minute here. You can see how much storage you're using. So as you go to download additional apps, those all take up space. And that's actually one thing I didn't show you too. You can adjust to the icons. So you can push and hold there in order to be able to move these icons into different spots if you want to. If there were updates available, it would show you there. So update history, preferences, etc. Then, if the infotainment system is ever giving you problems, so Apple CarPlay's not working, Android Auto's not working, it's frozen up on you, you could do a full factory reset. So under your system there, and then reset. You can restart in safe mode, which if you've downloaded an additional app, that might be the cost. You can start in safe mode to remove that app. You can erase the infotainment data, but that's the last thing you want to do because it's going to get rid of everything on the screen. So what you actually want to do instead, on the steering wheel, you've got this hang up button. So answer or hang up on a phone call. If you push and hold down, so hanging up on a phone call, you're going to hang on for like 10 to 15 seconds or so. So just keep on hanging on, and eventually it's going to toggle a soft screen reboot. So it's very similar to doing a restart on your phone. We're essentially just clearing the cache. You'll come up to this screen. So you can do recovery mode or factory reset. Do nothing. So just don't touch anything whatsoever. And after about 5-10 seconds or so, see the screen goes blank. There we go. And what we've done is we've entered a soft reboot cycle now. So that should get rid of any issues that you're facing. So like I said, Apple CarPlay is not working, Android Auto's not working, etc. That's what you want to try first. If that doesn't work, then you're going to go back into your settings there, and then into system and reset. And then you're going to do that full infotainment data reset. So soft screen reboot first, hard reboot second. If that doesn't work, you'll have to take it into your Acura dealer. You've got 2 USB Type-C data transfer ports, a 12-volt power point there, a little storage tray with some cup holders there, and then a wireless charge pad for your phone. Down low, you've got a little storage cubby there. The armrest here is a good amount of space inside of that box. Half wrist deep, which is impressive. It's a fully lockable glove box. Down here too, good amount of space there. But the highlights here are pretty neat. So there's that same type of material that traces through the dash all the way across, matching what's going on here. Overhead, you've got this fully digital rear view mirror. Auto dimming functionality in the basic mode there too. So again, if you're not using that feature later on at night, this means that it's going to dim out if somebody's in behind you. But you can adjust this out. You can adjust how high or low it sits, the brightness, things like that. It's pretty neat. You've got your SOS mode, 4-way blinkers, and then your basic control lights there, along with these controls for, look at that, full panoramic sunroof. That it just opens things up beautifully inside of this ride. And then from there, you can either slide or you can tilt. So if you wanted to, create a little breeze there, you could, or just fully open up. You've got your little ticket receipt holder there. And then that little vanity mirror with lights built in. And this little feller stretches out, blocking all of the sun. That might be hitting your face. But the overall visibility inside of the ride is pretty good. Pillar there, Shouldn't run any issues at all. But I mean, it's a nice car overall. Just still think it's funny that it's a rebadged GM vehicle. You're trying, Acura. You're trying. All right, let's look at that second row. All right, so, ooh, got some shades built right in. More speakers everywhere. Window controls, door storage down low. And then, with the driver's seat, it's set up for myself being 6 feet tall. In the second row, I've got a great amount of knee space, foot space, and head space sitting fully upright. Got like 1.5 inches, teetering on 2 inches of head space. So not a ton of space back here, but I can at least fit. And if you need more space, I mean, it's kind of perfect because there's no hump in the middle here. See, look at that. No issue. Oh yeah, there we go. No issue there whatsoever. Up overhead in the middle seat, I still have space. The middle seat in every manufacturer is just not comfortable by any stretch. If someone needed to sit in the middle seat, they could. Well, like I said, it's just not comfortable. And then if you need them, all of your anchor points are there with the top tethers in behind the seats. There are some cup holders built right into the seat back there. And then the seats are fully locked into place, so you can't move them forwards or backwards whatsoever, but you can easily lower the seats if you'd like. Along the passenger side, there's a little handle and a little cabin light. You're going to find matte pockets behind both the passenger and the driver's side. And then so many controls. So you've got your vent controls there, along with controls for the climate in the back, putting it to an auto mode. There's the option for heated second row seats in the Type S, and it's just the outboard. So the middle seat here would just never be heated. And then down low, you've also got a bunch of power ports. So you've got 2 USB Type-C, along with a traditional wall plug back there too. Then up overhead, along the side, you've got a little handle and a cabin control light there too. You're going to find LED tail lamps inside of the ZDX, and approaching the car at night, again, those lamps really pop. Not quite as nice as the front end, but still pretty nice at the same time. Technology-wise back here, regardless of the trim level, you're going to find the reverse park sensing system, backup camera, along with the rear wiper. There's a top-mounted camera there too, and that's for a fully digital rear view mirror. And then towing inside of the ride is possible. It doesn't matter which trim level that you're in, you're maxing out at 3,500 pound towing capacity. So boats, trailers, things like that, you're not going to have an issue. But similar to an internal combustion engine, the more you tow, the worse your overall range is going to be. So just go in knowing if you max out the towing capacity, your range will absolutely be negatively impacted. How much it gets impacted is going to depend on your overall driving habits and, like I said, how much you're towing. Getting into the boot of the ride can be done a few different ways. You're going to find a button available along the driver's side door. You can use the key fob to do it. Just underneath the Acura badge to the right of the backup camera, there's a button there that you can push. And you're also going to find a hands-free liftgate. So as long as you've got the key fob on you, you're just going to walk up to the back and swipe. Up it goes. Love hands-free liftgates. Along the left side, there's a light, a 12-volt power point, and then power releases for the second row seats. But before we get there, there's a little cargo tray here. And then fully lifting that up, you're going to find an inflator kit along with the charge cable. So the inflator kit's there, but these have self-sealing tires. But if you ever, let's say, lose a tire, or if you've locked yourself out of your ride, if the battery died and you need some help, you do have access to roadside assistance. Call an 800 number, someone can give you help with whatever issue that you're running into. And then folding down the second row seats can be done a few different ways. There are the power releases right along the back, but you can also fold it down manually along the top, so the left and the right side independently. But the button push, you're just going to push and hold. And it's just a release down, so it's manual back up, but you get a great amount of space inside of this ride. Then the cargo dimensions that you're looking at here, the ones specifically behind the first row, go from right where that trunk door would close to just in behind the little console armrest between the first row seats. So if the driver's seat, passenger seat were forwards or backwards, you'd gain or lose a little bit of extra space. But plenty of space inside of this ride. You can kick to close if you want to. You can use the key fob. Then there's the button along the top there in order to close instead. Overall, I'm going to say that I do enjoy this car so far. It's sporty, incredibly powerful, fairly quiet inside, and it handles pretty well. So let's do some honored handling here. And like a bullet, bam. Fantastic. It's the benefit of having all that instant torque that comes from having an electric car. And up to speed. Oh, yes. Beautiful. I'm going to give the ZDX this. It is incredibly quiet inside of this car. It's an electric, so, I mean, it's one of those things you would hope that it would be fairly quiet, and it absolutely is. The noise cancellation inside of this ride is excellent. And that was everything you needed to know about the Acura ZDX. You can find all of the build details for this one down in the description, with links off to Acura Canada and US. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care.